last night, but I don't remember what it was. But I was going to tell you about it because it was really stressful. Also, before I left my apartment, my water bottle was leaking all over me. It got my pants and all, the whole side of my pants and my right shoe soaking wet. And I can't figure out what was wrong with it.
That's weird.
So it might be subject to the same fate as your old water bottle.
Yeah. There was that water bottle?
Yeah.
Huh. My old one was plastic, so it makes more sense that it got a hole. But yeah, that one seems like metal, isn't it?
It was leaking out of the top. And I thought because the lid wasn't on or something, but I kept checking and it was. Every time I bent over, it was pouring out and there was a huge puddle all over the floor and it was really concerning. Well, I am really excited about this episode. I was editing the interview last night and it was just so inspiring to re-listen to, so I'm really excited for everyone else to get to listen to it.
That's good. I was at the interview, so I thought it was really good too.
Oh, you were? I thought it was just me.
I know.
I was actually late because our guest never got Ashley's email with the link to join the interview, and so then he was not there when we started, and then we got in touch with him and it was all good, but then I had to go to the bathroom before we started, so I wasn't there.
Yeah, then she was in the bathroom.
There also was a disclaimer I had to say before we get to our inspirational in it. I don't know what happened with the sound, but Ant's sound cut out right before our last two questions.
Oh, no!
I know, so we didn't get to hear whether he would want a twin or not, but he said yes, so for anybody who is curious, he would have wanted a twin.
Oh, good. I'm glad you remembered what he said, because I was like, well, we could just tell them what he said, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah. So if you're wondering where those questions are, I just wanted to let you know that we didn't forget about them, but there was an audio issue, which...
You just said it was a good interview, but now it's been ruined.
I know. This is the life of recording podcasts at college.
Yeah.
Anyway, it is time for our inspirational in it.
Yay!
Yay!
We didn't introduce ourselves.
Oh, I'm Aspen, the one who never stops talking.
I'm Ashley, the one who doesn't know what to say.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I actually feel like when I am editing that you always have really coherent things to say and I just blabber on and say, well, yeah, awesome.
Oh, that is not true. I'm the most incoherent speaker ever.
For anybody who is new here, the inspirational in it is what should be called the Good News Minute, and it is
should not.
It is where we start every Twinspiration episode with a good news story. Today's good news story is about 24 inmates out of prison in San Diego who have just graduated with associate's degrees in sociology at this correctional facility, the Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego. There was this really amazing program through the Southwestern College where incarcerated students were given the opportunity to pursue a college degree. And on October 4th, in San Diego, 24 of these students graduated with associate's degrees, and most of these students are set to transfer to a BA degree program through the University of California. And one of the inmates was quoted saying he feels free from pursuing education. There's a lot of statistics about how prisoners who have gone through these programs are a lot less likely to return to prison. I thought that this was a really, truly inspiring story because I think that we can tend to take education for granted. And I think that this, first of all, just is a good reminder that not everybody has access to education and also how impactful it can be for people. And I just think that giving people a second chance is really important in any aspect of life. And for whatever reason that they're in prison, giving them the opportunity to turn their lives around. I just really love that there's programs like this that are giving people a second chance and giving them the opportunity to get an education.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And it's also inspiring of those people that they were able to take advantage of that opportunity and make changes for themselves. On today's episode of Twinspiration, we had the great privilege of interviewing Ant Bryan, who is a para-athlete and is a gold medalist at the World Games. He is just so inspiring. His story was amazing, and his outlook on life is something that all of us can aspire to have in our lives, no matter what is going on for us. He suffered a stroke at the age of 6 and went from being an active, sporty child to not being able to use half of his body. He now competes as a para-athlete. He has a YouTube channel where he teaches people how he does strength training and builds up his athleticism despite his disability, and he is a huge advocate for representation of people with disabilities and changing the way that we view other people and our own abilities. We just really, really love talking to him, and we are so excited for you to get to hear everything that he had to share with us.
Yes, so without further ado, here is Ant Bryan.
Hi, I'm Aspen.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Sorry, I had to step out to use the bathroom.
No worries, that's all right.
He's in London, so it's like 11 o'clock there.
Oh my gosh, well, thank you for coming to do this so late.
That's all right, no worries.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah. We're super excited to talk to you and hear more about your story. We'll try not to keep you too long so you can go to bed. First of all, could you just tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and what your story is?
And so a bit about me is, at the age of just 6 years old, I was very active, very sporty, always running around, playing football. And when I was 6, I started to have really bad headaches. And doctors couldn't work out why I was having these headaches. They thought it was just migraines. But it turned out I had a brain tumour the size of a tennis ball.
Oh my God.
And they found that this tennis ball was shutting down my vital organs. So I had to have an operation immediately to remove this tumour. When they removed this tumour, I then had a stroke and I lost the use of my left side. And doctor said to my parents I'll probably never walk or be very active ever again. And I was wheelchair bound and bed bound for the next 6 months. I became very down on myself, hated who I'd become. When I was allowed to go back to school, teachers weren't allowing me to go in the playground because they were worried I might hurt myself. So I kind of felt like I was left out. And I was embarrassed of who I became. But fast forward 20 years later, I have now represented England in the World Games, running 800 metres and 1,500 metres. I have competed around the country, I've competed around the world, doing lots of different running events. And I'm now a personal trainer in a gym, teaching others with disabilities how to get fit and get strong. So I've kind of gone out my way to prove to the doctors that they were wrong. So they said I'd never walk or be very active again. I've achieved my athletics, I've achieved going into the gym. So I was like, what's next? And I've now signed up for the London Marathon next year.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
That's 26 miles of pure running. Right now, I don't know if my body would be able to do it because I still can't use my left side. I only use one side of my body. But this is the challenge, to see if I can do it.
That's amazing. We will be rooting for you. How long is the longest that you've run?
So the furthest I've run so far is only about 10 miles. So my aim is to do a half marathon first and see how I cope with that. Because I can only use one side of my body's burning up double the amount of energy and double the amount of hydration that a normal person uses. Mm-hmm. So I have to work double the amount of a normal person. It's going to be a lot of training. It's going to be difficult. But I am fascinated by what the body can do. We have no idea what our own bodies are capable of because we are always living in our comfort zone. It's not until you kind of push yourself out your comfort zone to see what you can really do that you may just surprise yourself.
Wow. Well, you're proving those doctors wrong for sure.
Yeah. I can't even run 10 miles with both sides of my body, so that's pretty incredible.
Oh, thank you. And I actually created a YouTube channel to show my training and try and inspire others to do it as well. Because I did some research into how many people with disabilities have done the London Marathon. And it's not many, it's maybe like a handful of people. So if I can do it and put it out on YouTube and try and inspire others to do it, then that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I think that's definitely really going to be inspiring to a lot of people. Even just watching you do what you've done already is super inspiring. And I think you've set a great example for other people.
Oh, thank you. It's all about going through tough times, coming out the other sides and just being the best you can possibly be. I will never be able-bodied, but I'm doing the best I can with the body that I have. And I want to show others that if I can do it, then you can do it too.
Well, I guess kind of starting
way back at the beginning, I think you touched on this a little bit, but what was it like to go from being an active, sporty kid to all of a sudden being in a wheelchair and not being able to use half of your body?
It was extremely hard. Like I began to resent myself, like really hate myself. I remember at one point, because at lunch and playtimes, everyone was outside playing football and running around. And obviously I wasn't allowed outside the classroom, so I had to sit in the classroom watching everyone out the window. And I began to think to myself, I wish I'd never survived this operation. Why am I still here? I hate my life. So I was like 7 or 8 years old, but I was thinking along the lines of suicide. I don't want to be here anymore. I was the only disabled kid in the whole school, so I was really embarrassed of who I was. I used to wear, even if it was a hot sunny day, I'd wear long sleeve coats just to hide my arms and things like that. So I became very self-conscious, very shy. And we had a PE lesson. We were playing football. It was called soccer, where you are. And I was like, I'll go in goal. And the teacher said to me, you can't go in goal. You need 2 hands to go in goal. So that kind of comment just kind of made me stay away from sport. So I didn't get into sport until I was about 16, 17. So my whole childhood was very shy, self-conscious, hated who I was, trying to hide who I was. And I just had to kind of grow out of it. And that sport is what got my confidence out. If it wasn't for sport, I don't know where I'd be.
That seems like such intense thoughts and feelings for someone so young to have to go through. I was wondering how you came across sports and how that started to shift your perspective, I guess.
Well, even before my brain tumour, I was always playing football, and football was my love. I think what helped me was I had 2 younger brothers, and we were all very competitive against each other. So even though I was wheelchair bound at the start, they're running around playing football, and I just wanted to do my best to get up and try and beat them or compete with them. So that kind of competitive sibling rivalry is probably what helped me get back into sport. They wouldn't give me any leniency. So it's either I push myself to get better and beat them, or they're going to get the better of me, really.
I think that's really awesome that they were kind of the ones that helped you get back into sports, because I think it kind of just goes to show that people should all still be treated the same way, because that's what kids do, right? Is they don't really see your differences, and to think that sports was what lifted you out of such a dark place, but so many people were preventing you from being able to participate in it. I think that's just really sad, and it seems like maybe your childhood might have been a little bit easier if your teachers and people around you would have allowed you to participate more. So I think that we can all learn a little bit from kids and be more open-minded and not see people's differences and disabilities, but see them for the things that they are able to do.
And I think maybe about 20 years ago, people didn't know that people with disabilities could do all these things. It's only recently now teachers are like, yeah, you might have a disability, but let's not focus on what you can't do. Let's focus on what you can do. That's what one of the football coaches said to me when I joined a football team. I was like, I'm not very good. I can't do this. I can't do that. What he said to me was, yeah, you might not be able to use one side of your body, but you can use one side of your body better than the others. So let's focus on what you can do, not what you can't do. And what we found was, because my right side was so strong, I had a more powerful shot than anyone. So I started scoring a lot of goals from just shooting all the time. And that's what I think better for nowadays is people are starting to learn that you might have a disability, but there's not one thing that has to be done the same way. You can do the same as everyone else, you just do it your own way. And that can be not just with sport, but with anything in your life. If you go and get a job, you don't have to do that job the same way everyone else does it. You find your way to do it, and you could excel in how you do it, in anything you do, really.
So what do you think are some of the things that are contributing to that kind of perspective shift that you witnessed happen? Do you think it's people seeing other people like you with disabilities doing amazing things, or do you think it's just that it's more present in the media, or what do you think it is?
I think just people are just learning more, especially social media now. So social media is very big for showing great things people with disabilities. So on my Instagram page, I'm showing how I lift weights with one arm. I'm showing how I run. I'm showing how I use prosthetics to help me run faster. It's lots of other people doing it as well. So it's all thanks to, instead of people shying away and hiding and being embarrassed of who they are, people are starting to show what they can do and just learning from each other. People are talking about it more now than ever before.
Well, I think it's really admirable that you do share those things, because I know you said that when you were younger you felt really ashamed of yourself and you wanted to just hide. That's certainly not something that I would ever want anyone to feel, but I think that those feelings seem really valid, and I would imagine that it takes a lot of courage for you to go from being in that state of mind to being so willing to share what you're doing with other people and to inspire others. Did you have fear about sharing what you were able to do, and how did you get over that?
It's only really a recent thing. So throughout all my childhood, teenage years, I would never ever talk about my disability. For example, if someone asked me, oh, what happened to you? What happened to your arm? What happened to your leg? My response would be, mind your own business. Kind of thing. It wasn't until I kind of got in my 20s, late 20s, I kind of realised people aren't asking because they're nosy. People are asking because they're interested in you. So if you tell them your story, they're just really interested in what you have to say. And if you open up and tell your story, then it could inspire others. So instead of me hiding away what I've been through, all those tough times, I should talk about what I do and try and just help inspire others who may be going through the same thing, because there's always someone else that's going through a similar thing to you. So if I can help them, that'd be a great thing.
And I think that even for people who aren't necessarily going through a similar thing, I think that it just helps so much for people to hear about different stories and different perspectives, because there's something that can apply to everybody's life from that. And I think that it also just is really helpful to change people's perspectives and start to change the culture around how we treat people with disabilities and how we think about disabilities. I was going to ask you what inspired you to get into doing sport professionally or competitively?
So I stayed away from all sports to begin with. And when I was 16, they opened up a disability football team. So I thought I'll go along and give it a try. And because I was brought up around able-bodied football, I was always kind of left out. Now there's this team, like I said, the coach said to me before, let's not focus on what you can't do, let's focus on what you can do. So for once I was being told, you can do this instead of, no, you can't do that. And after we won a few trophies, won lots of games, and then he said to me, you're pretty quick. Have you ever thought about going into the Paralympics? And I just responded and said, what's the Paralympics? I've never heard of that before. And he said, the Paralympics is like the Olympics, but for people with disabilities. You'd be amazing at that. Why don't you give it a go? But my reaction was, no way. I definitely don't want to do that. Why would I want to do a sport that shows off my disability? I was trying to hide it as much as I could, as it was. I didn't want to do a sport that shows it off. So he said, let me speak to your parents. So he spoke to my parents and he's like, get that boy in a running club. He's got something. Get him in a running club. So my parents thought, okay, yeah, we'll give it a try. They got me in a running club and I went to my first athletics competition, and I looked around and every single athlete had a disability. This was the first time I'd done a sport with other disabled athletes, and it really opened up my eyes. I was like, wow, every athlete is here to do the best they could possibly be. There were athletes that were missing a leg and they were just sitting down and popping on their prosthetic leg. They were jumping around. I was like, wow, this is incredible. No one was looking at each other in a funny way. Everyone was going out there to be the best they can be and encouraging others and like spurring each other on. I was like, this is amazing. I want to do more of this. So I went back to my coach and I was like, I want to do more training. I want to win more medals. I want to do more competitions. And it just went from there, really. She was like, okay, let's do some training. I started going to the gym. I started getting bigger and stronger and fitter. I started winning more medals. And I noticed that this was actually, the more I started winning and getting stronger, I started to feel better about myself instead of feeling down about myself. I was like, I can do things. I started becoming faster than some of my mates that didn't have disabilities. And that made me feel even better about myself. So I just wanted to train more and more. I went to the Paralympic trials in 2012 and I ran in the 100 metres and the 200 metres. And I just missed out on selection because the top 3 get selected for the Paralympics and I came 4th. But I thought, this is amazing. I might have just missed out, but this is the biggest thing I've ever done and I want to do more. So I then went to my coach and she said to me, okay, so you're slightly slower than the others on the start because of your one side. Why don't we try something a little bit longer? Why don't we try 800 metres and why don't we try 1500 metres? But my reaction was, 1,500 meters, that sounds like 1,000,000 miles. I can't run that. She goes, well, how do you know you can't run that if you've never tried? So I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. So I went to my first training session and it was super hard. We had to do 400 meters times 10 with a few minutes rest. And I remember even the 6 and 7-year-old girls were going past me and I was at the back. I was like, this is so embarrassing. Even the little ones are going past me. But I kept pushing myself. I said, let's just do the next rep. Let's just do the next rep. And I managed to complete it. And my coach went to me, so how was that? I was like, so embarrassing. Even the little ones were beating me. I came at the back. I don't like this. This is hard work. But she said to me, well, you can't go in there and expect to be the absolute best. Those guys have been training for years and years. You can't go in there and be better than them straight away because you haven't put the work in that they've put in. So she said, give it a month or two. And if you still hate it, you can stop and you can go back to your sprinting. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. And she was right. After a few weeks, I started getting fitter. I started getting used to it. I started getting stronger. I was going from the back of the group to the middle of the group, to the middle of the group to near the front of the group. And then I started winning medals in the 800 metres and the 1500 metres. And then I got selected to represent England at the World Games. I remember going to the World Games and my confidence was super. I felt so good about myself. I felt like I achieved something. And that's what kind of gave me this fire to just want to do it more and more and more because it made me feel good about myself. I think if I hadn't done any of this sport, then I'd still be in that negative mindset of I hate who I am. I'm embarrassed of who I am. And sport was what made me feel good about myself because it made me feel like I was strong, fit, and I achieved something.
Well, I think that's just really such an inspiring story, and I think it really speaks to the importance of finding a purpose and finding something that lights the fire within you. No matter who somebody is or what their background is, it can be really easy to just get sucked into, I guess, the world's expectations of you and what they expect that you can or can't do or what you should or shouldn't do. And I think your story is just such a powerful reminder to everybody that if there's something that lights your soul on fire, you should do it because that is going to make life worth living. That's so cool that you just kept pushing yourself because I can't even imagine the physical demands of training for something like that. I mean, that sounds tiring to me. I think we often get caught up in starting something and not being very good at it or everyone else is better. And I think this applies to most people. It definitely happens to me all the time where I'll just be like, oh, I don't get this, so I can't do it on like the first try. And I've been noticing lately that some things I'll just be like, well, I'm too old to learn how to do this, or so many other people can do this way better, so I'm just not going to try. But even after, like you said, even just after a couple of weeks of training or a couple of weeks of working on something, I feel like I'll just start to improve and I'll start to understand it and I'll start to be able to do it. It's never too late to learn something new or to try new things. And I feel like there's kind of this expectation that once you're older than 18, you're done and you just like can't, you're stuck in your ways.
It's like I said before, like we have no idea of what we're capable of because we live inside our comfort zone. Like we might go to work in the day, then we'll come home and we'll sit on the sofa. And that's inside your comfort zone. That's easy. It's like, what can you do more to push yourself to see what you can really do? The one thing that made me see that was reading the book of David Goggins. So I read his book and it really opened up my eyes because he said, so when you're working really hard, you might think you're done, you can't go no further. You're actually only 40% done. There's 60% more you can give. If you just have to keep pushing yourself and trying. Our biggest enemy is our own minds because we're always telling ourselves we're not good enough. So we kind of need good people around us to tell us, encourage us and tell us, yes, you can.
Absolutely. And it sounds like your coaches were really important parts of that narrative in helping to kind of push you and encourage you. Were there other people like family or friends that were really foundational in pushing you to keep bettering yourself?
That's it. It was the people that told me, yes, you can. Don't be silly. Yeah, 1,500 meters is a long way, but you can do it. And at the same time, there were people saying, that's crazy. You shouldn't do that. Like doctors and health professionals will say, you should do this, you should do that. But you know your own body. You know what you're capable of doing. And if you put the hard work in, you can literally achieve whatever you want to achieve. but you have to do the work. It's not just going to come easy. Loads of people want to say, I want to be a millionaire, but you're not going to be a millionaire just like that. You have to put the hard work in, and you have to keep going and going and going and going. And things aren't always going to go your way, but you have to get over that hurdle and keep going. I'll give you an example. That's my sports side of my story, but my professional side of my story is after my athletics, I was like, I need to get a job now. So what do I enjoy doing? I enjoy fitness and I enjoy the gym. I know I'll become a personal trainer. So I did my personal trainer qualification and I passed it really well. All my teachers were like, you're incredible. You're really going to inspire loads of people and help them get fit. But every job interview I went to over 30 job interviews, and they all said the same thing to me. They said, no, you're not what we're looking for. You haven't got the image we're looking for. So I got turned down by job after job after job, and it was literally because of my disability. I kept trying, and one guy said to me, look, I'll be honest with you. You can't lift weights with 2 hands. How do you expect to teach others? So I was like, but I can deadlift 100 kilograms with one arm, and I can talk people into how to do it. They're not going to copy me with one arm, but if I can do it one-armed, I can talk them into the right techniques how to do it. And he just said, I don't believe it can be done like that. That's just because the fitness world is all about image, and it has never had experienced kind of adaptive athletes or a disability in the gym. I've been doing my best to try and show that, yes, you can do it in the gym. We had the adaptive CrossFit competition last week, and it was incredible because you had guys with one leg, guys with one arm, people in wheelchairs lifting the heaviest weights you've ever seen. And it was like, wow. And it's just proof that you can do it. You just do it in your own way.
Do you have any specific stories of, as you're working as a personal trainer, people who you've really seen overcome their insecurities, I guess?
I can give you a story from when I first started working in the gym. So I'd done all my training. I'd done volunteering work to learn how to teach exercise classes. So I was teaching big exercise classes, and I went to this new job and I was covering an exercise class for a teacher that was away. And I walked into the class, and it's a class full of 30 people. And I was like, morning everyone, I'm teaching a class, I'm doing this, this and this. And as I turned around to put all the music and stuff on and fix it all together, I could hear all the people talking behind me, and they're all saying, what, he's teaching? No, I'm not doing this. I actually want to do a workout today. I'm going to go to the gym instead. No, I'm not staying for this. And I could hear all this going on behind me. So I'd fixed all the music, I turned around, and out of 30 people, 20 people walked out and left. There's 2 options you got there. You can either look at your glass half full or look at your glass half empty. If you look at your glass half empty, you're thinking to yourself, I'm a terrible trainer. No one's ever going to believe in me or want to train with me. Or you can look at your glass half full, and what I looked around and saw was, I thought to myself, yeah, 20 people have left, but 10 people have stayed. I'm going to give these 10 people the best class they've ever had. So I went extra hard. I was like, do this, do that, go, 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 go. Made them sweat as much as I could. And after the class, they were like, wow, that was such a good class. You're actually even better than the original teacher. And they came back week after week after week. And after a few weeks, word was starting to spread around the gym that my classes were really good. And now my class is fully booked every week. It's so busy now that people are complaining that they can't even book onto my class because it's so full. So it's kind of like the message there is, yeah, you're going to go through hard times and people are going to tell you can't do it, but you have to keep going and do it your way and just never give up, and good things will happen.
That's awesome. I love your optimism in that you make the most out of every situation, and you have had to work so hard to prove yourself, but you've very clearly done that. And I think it's really amazing that you continue to work so hard to be able to give back to other people. That's really inspiring.
I still not finished my journey. Yeah, I'm still trying to grow. My next idea is I want to build exercise classes for people with disabilities, older adults. I'd love to own my own gym one day. So that's the next goal.
That's incredible.
Amazing. After you run a marathon.
If I survive the marathon.
How is your training for the marathon going? Have you started training yet?
So I'm doing the 10K this Sunday. It's the London 10K, so it goes around the London Eye, Big Ben, and finishes at Buckingham Palace. It's going to be tough, but it's not too hot in England, so it's a nice temperature.
Oh, that's good.
Did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about before we wrap up?
So if anyone wants to follow me on social media and see what I do on social media, then check out my Instagram. It's called, my name is Ant Bryan, Bryan Fitness. So it's Ant Bryan Fitness. Or if you want to check out my YouTube channel, it's Ant Bryan Fitness. I also have a podcast. It's called Life Without Limits with Ant Bryan. And on my podcast, I talk to athletes with disabilities and we talk about their stories of overcoming hard times and achieving great things. So if you want to check out any of my stuff, then follow me, subscribe, or give me a message.
Awesome. Well, I think that's all that we have for you. Thank you so much. This was a really incredible interview. It was really nice getting to talk to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Bye.